What's up, y'all? Welcome to Kingdomvzn. It's the second episode. Today I got a special guest. Please introduce yourself to the people.
Yeah, how's everybody doing? My name is Osinor Kaku. I'm a professional model, actor, and producer based in North Carolina, currently living in Charlotte. Um, Known to Darius for a few years, actually. So, it's a great opportunity to sit down and talk with him more about exactly what he wants from me in terms of my perspective and his platform. And I'm truly honored and blessed to be here, man. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for joining us. And yeah, this should be a good episode right here, especially with this first question. So, yeah, we're
Okay.
gonna get into it. So,
Okay.
the first question is, like, have you ever been labeled a church boy? And like, if you have, how did it make you feel? And I ask that because, like me, I'm not sure if you know, but like I get labeled that a lot sometimes, and I don't really have too much of a problem with it. But it's just like I feel like some like women kind of look at it in a negative way. So I just wanted to get your opinion. Like,
Dude, it's so backwards, right?
yeah,
So I'll start with me, right? I grew up in the Catholic Church. So um, coming from that kind of background and that religious, I guess, lifestyle, uh, church on Sundays was inevitable. It was always going to happen with my parents and the home that my parents built for my siblings and I. Uh, Went to church every Sunday. I didn't even realize that I behaved like a church boy or a church kid or something like that. And I never found it to be something to be embarrassed by. It just felt like it was no different from waking up early in the morning and going to school. It just
it
felt
just felt
natural.
like normal.
Yeah, it just felt like normal, like a normal day. And of course, it was how I was groomed to be growing up. But yeah, that label didn't really exist for me until probably middle school, like mid to late middle school, when a lot of my friends who had totally different religious or spiritual lifestyles were really kind of dishing out to me hints and clues that I wasn't really, I didn't really behave like them when it came to their spiritual life. They were still very in tune with their faith. It was just the amount of consistency when it came to channeling that behavior and how they perceived God and revered him was something that we had like totally different lifestyles and approaches to it. And that's when I said, oh, I've really been really embedded in this for longer than I would have ever could have ever thought of or realized. So yeah.
But yeah, that was kind of early. You said middle school. I didn't start getting that label to like high school. But yeah, I definitely feel you on that. Good.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I was making me think of another question, but like my next question, man, should I go into
Okay.
the question?
Nah, man, shoot it. Like, let me know. What's up?
Yeah, so the next question was that I thought of was like, so like, how does that? Like, I know you say, like, I know you're in a relationship right now, but like, so how did that like impact you for like relationships? Like, is it important for you to like look for a girl that's like heavily into the church, or like does it not matter? Because I know like some people that are like really close with God, but then like they pick like they choose people who are, like aren't as like close to God sometimes. So, like, is that something that's important for you?
Yeah, that's a non-negotiable for me.
Yeah.
Um, I knew going into the dating scene that, and this is like long before I met my girlfriend now. Going to the dating scene, I knew that things wouldn't work out if we had different spiritual lives. I didn't mind the religion of, I didn't mind whether she was, Christian. I didn't mind what denomination in Christianity she was. I just kind of made sure that she was at least Christian and believed in Jesus Christ and
Yeah.
um,
Yeah,
read,
'cause nowadays, yeah,
studied the Bible, studied the Word. When she refers to God, let her say God or
yeah,
perhaps something that's familiar with exactly what it means to be Christian. If she's Muslim or Jewish or another religion specifically, that would have honestly been a very awkward conversation. And I don't think
Nah,
that
that's what I was about to say.
yeah,
Actually,
that would
like,
not have been sustainable for me at least. So I held that as I guess, as a box to check when it came to any girl that I met when I dated. But when it came to my current girlfriend, no, she's Christian, very faith based. Honestly, has been uh, she's honestly challenged me to be more in tune with my faith, which we can talk about later. And I guess about you dialing in on that question, I find it ironic that the modern dating scene seems to, based on what I've witnessed, heard of, or more, there seems to be this heavy contradiction as to how someone would interpret relationships and their faith, not really put those two together, and then their actions show that they're lacking in something in their relationship that has to do with actual teachings in the Bible or words from God that can actually guide them into being in healthy relationships and being decent, productive people overall. And I feel like there are heavy components that are missing in modern day relationships that has inadvertently harmed young people for the most part. I mean, like, God, I mean, you've probably heard a bunch of stories about, how dating's gone wrong or
yeah,
just
a lot of stuff.
stories, right?
Yeah,
And we're thinking ourselves as church boys, we're like, what?
yeah,
Like, how does that happen?
yeah,
Like, how could you let that happen? But it just ties in together as to that common sense factor when it comes to evaluating your faith and tying it into your everyday lifestyle. That I noticed very early, and I said, "Man, these streets is done. The streets is done. I gotta just
yeah.
pack it
So,
up. I gotta get out of here." And I just dated with a sense, and not to, I guess, for lack of a better word, I dated with a sense of urgency, meaning that I really dialed in on where I can find a girl that I can really vibe with on multiple levels. I know she won't be perfect,
mhm.
but it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
starting with her spiritual life, if she's faith based, if she's Christian, I don't mind whether she's Methodist or Baptist because I don't find that many. I don't really run into that many Catholics, honestly, except for student organizations like where we met, honestly. But that was about it. That's as far as it went.
That was a good like response right there. That just like made me think like so many other questions. But before I started like losing track of my question, my next question was man, which was I about to say? Because yeah, you said a lot. Like you mentioned how like basically like a lot of problems would be avoided. Like had like a lot of people like in our generation had like a better relationship with God in a way. Like that's something that I think of a lot too. Like I feel like nowadays, like a lot of like people around our age are not being. I'm not to even sound like I'm judging, but like I'm just saying like how I think it is. Like a lot of people are being led the wrong way. Like in a sense, like a lot of my friends sometimes they say things like demon time, and then like one yeah I hear this song. I'm thinking like
Yeah,
you saying demon time, like
yeah,
why would like why would you want to be on demon time? Like you
you know what I'm
say.
saying? Like, oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah, like
Like
they say they
it
on
just doesn't
demon
add up.
time.
Like they're literally speaking
Yeah, on the devil, like
style into existence. Like like they're making it come their way.
yeah, like it's
Like
and it's
it's
like a lot of things just become normalized, and that's like why I like to say
yeah.
Roman side soul verse 2 a lot. So like
Yeah, like you could try to maneuver around that demon time lifestyle, but
yeah,
to just like speak it into existence and have it just approach you, that's the type of stuff that brings in people who are known to invite drama.
yeah.
If I'm being blunt, honestly.
And I feel like that's basically like been normalized like nowadays. Like
Yeah.
I run into like you heard of the phrase that like nice people get taken advantage of a lot, right?
Yeah.
Like for me, I consider myself a nice person, but I don't like in the past I probably did just like being naive towards things, but I feel like a lot of like church boys, quote unquote, are just people that like follow like Christ a lot. Like I feel like we get used a lot, but I think it's because of like what you mentioned, like people on demon time, pretty much. So you run into a bunch of people on demon time.
And I think that's when, because I noticed, I guess, studying the word and really thinking deeply into the lives of prophets and followers of Christ whom God has had documented in scripture, I'm thinking about the lifestyles that they had and the decisions that they had to make in the name of God and in the name of Christ post crucifixion. I'm thinking of, and I guess in thinking of this, I realized how rough of a lifestyle those prophets actually lived and the kind of sacrifices it took for them to toughen up their skin and really follow through with the direction God has placed them in. I mean, we're talking about stories of so much struggle and warfare and physical violence, which is what it took in some cases to carry out God's will. Now, I guess to set aside the, I guess the cons behind and the scrutiny behind what it took to spread the message of God. Aside from that, I feel like that also serves as license for church boys or guys who just are nice for the most part or have a reputation of being nice. I think that serves as license to pretty much have some sense of aggression or sturdiness when it comes to how we practice our faith.
Yeah, exactly.
Balance between being nice and being too nice,
Yeah.
whereas you can have balance with being stern and firm in your will and exactly what God's will is, to be specific. If you run into a pretty cool girl, she's decent, and she's on demon time or has a lifestyle that is not very godly, let's be
Yeah.
frank. Can't just sit by and let that happen if you're a follower of Christ.
Yeah.
Kind of got to put your foot down and say, hold on now, what are you doing? Don't do
Yeah.
that. Follow me this way, and I can show you some examples of how to, I guess, have a higher sense of ease, less drama, more spiritual reflection, things of that nature.
I actually got to stop you right there. That just made me think of something. So,
Yeah.
like you mentioned that like sometimes you got to stop them and tell them like they should go like this way. Like
And be firm with it within reason, of course. Now, if they aren't willing to, I guess, follow you or listen to you or I guess be cooperative in that sense in a relationship, then of course you can like cut them off and let them go do their thing. But for the most part, I mean, aren't ideally nice guys aren't supposed to finish last, but I think that's why that saying exists.
yeah.
Folks say nice guys finish last because they're nice for, I guess they're just a little too lenient when it comes to accepting influences of the devil, influence of Satan, the temptations that come into play in today's time as to how people are losing their way with God, losing their faith, losing their spirit, their sense of spirituality, and kind of losing any any way to be decent followers of Christ. And I think that's where there can be a sense of urgency and some type of I wouldn't say blunt force, but aggression as to insisting that you take dramatic measures to get yourself back on track spiritually. And I feel like that's not really being emphasized by people who are in relationships and people who take their faith seriously. I think that could be a big uh, that if that's injected into relationships now, I feel like that could be the balancing shift in having relationships become something that's taken more seriously, where it's not this hot girl or city boy
Yeah,
nonsense that we've been seeing recently.
yeah, for sure. But like what I wanted to say is like when you mentioned like sometimes you gotta like lead them like a certain way in a relationship. My question was like, do you think that like you can change people in a way? Because I feel like as believers sometimes like that's something that I struggle with like back in like high school. I think I would say like when I first was like really getting like growing close to God, I was trying to like bring everybody with me. And like through that, I realized that you can't really like change people at times. You gotta know, like I think TJ said, you gotta like, or what's the saying? Like you can show them the water, but they gotta want to drink it. So
Yeah,
like,
lead by example.
yeah, yeah,
Can't bring them on.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man. I remember. Look, dude, middle school is definitely the roughest social period of my young life, because that was just when I was beginning to, I guess, actually be interactive with people with intention. Because with that came my church boy background, and it was just
Like
considered
a
cool.
disconnect, no way.
Like it would be considered corny and not cool, and
Uh,
you're not, you boring, oh blah. Things weren't going well when it came to girls, and I was like, oh my god, what am I doing?
but
Maybe I
nah,
should.
it says that in the Bible though, like when you begin to like follow Jesus, people are gonna like resist that. So,
Yeah, and it's interesting how that's very apparent, and you notice it when you're really young, when you're a kid, and this happens when you're a child. That I would think that this kind of message is for adults, honestly. But to remember it really kicking off when you're uh, 11 or 12 or 13 years old, it's honestly it's pretty terrifying thinking about it, because I have intentions of being a husband and a father in the future, later future, of course, not now. But it's kind of terrifying thinking about that these kinds of negative influences can happen so soon.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I
You
mean,
went to a Christian school or a public middle school?
ooh, I went to a public school, bro.
Oh, public.
Um,
Yeah, I was at a Christian
no, but
school too.
you've been to Lincoln. Have you been around that area? Lincoln Middle School, Dudley High School,
Yeah,
Greensboro.
yeah, that,
Yeah, they're right across the street from each other. Yeah, I went there.
uh,
So it's I
yeah,
guess those kind of influences and yeah, those kind of influences with our culture has pretty much bred that kind of, I guess, discontent for the actions taking place to garner your faith and to hone it and develop it. So I feel like that it was very hard to maneuver practicing my faith in a public social setting.
no, that's interesting you say that because like for me, I didn't like yeah, it wasn't really like that for me because like when I lived in New York, I went to a Christian school, so like every day we go into class, like everybody praying. We go to lunch, everybody saying their grace, so it's kind of like normal. And then
Yeah.
when I came here, I was at a public school, but like my relationship with God wasn't like there yet, so I was just like conforming pretty much. And then I got to middle school, like I still wasn't like there yet. I still believe in God, but I wasn't. I would say my grace, things like that. Nobody really say anything, but it
Yeah.
wasn't until like high school I really started to grow closer to God. But at that time, I was at a Christian school, so like
Yeah.
everybody there was like having the same belief pretty much. So it's interesting to get a different perspective on that because yeah, I couldn't. I'm trying to wonder how I would be if I had to like if people like looked at me a certain way for praying or something like that. You know,
Yeah, man. They would really look at you funny when they see you.
I've never experienced that before.
Bro, I'd be at the lunch tables, be lined up like that, and you with your classmates, and I just be over my food, just like quick prayer.
They
But
like, how
I
do
had to make that quick because I didn't want nobody to catch me praying and then doing a sign of cross, and they'll be like, "What are you doing?" But they would know I'm praying, but it just wouldn't be. It would just look so.
Nobody else is really doing it, you know.
Yeah, it would just look so awkward. And
That's good that she kept doing it though, because like especially at your age, like a lot of kids probably would have stopped. I might have stopped at that.
but I guess, and I didn't. I have to admit, every day I wasn't physically up in prayer. Right, a lot of my, for most of the time, I would really find a way to actually meditate and speak to God internally because I didn't have to. Actually, there's scripture says that it's not even a good thing to actually just uh, be up front praying on your knees in front of a whole crowd just for the attention. Like, I don't do it for the attention, of course. No one really does. But I saw that as an opportunity for me to not have to physically display my faith. It's more of I guess really by actions and self-control and having that sense of discipline that kept me from being in serious trouble also. So that also played a part in that. But I would just really be in my head speaking to God, um, prayers that I would say in my head. I won't need to say them out loud. So that helped me practice my faith. Um, that helped me practice manifesting what is to come next in my spiritual journey and the successes that I would have as a student and an athlete and at the time and really have that sense of focus as to how I can really push my spiritual life and do it incognito without much garnered attention. And if someone asked, then I can just let them know, tell them.
All right, that's really good. But dang, I'm not like when you keep talking, I'm thinking like a bunch of different questions. I don't really like want to go off of what I wrote down because I just thought of another one. So
I
um,
mean, it's all good, man. We just gonna.
yeah, so but no, I think it's a question that like a lot of believers would need to hear. Like I just wanted to get your opinion on it. So like to pray every day like that when like you're getting teased and like people aren't understanding you're being like looked at funny. Like that can make like us as believers or just like as a human in general to like not want to continue doing what they're doing. So like what do you think helped you to continue to pray like despite people like looking at you funny or like not just that like everybody like around you, like you wasn't allowing like your friends or other students to like influence you in a way. So like what do you
What
think helped you to like just stay disciplined like that?
what helped me stay disciplined was honestly going back home to a going back to a home that prayed every day, every night, go to church every Sunday, still maintaining my, I guess, my routine, my schedule of going to church and being active with my youth group and having a also having a network of friends in my church youth group
Mhm.
who like they were popular kids, like so it was not. I didn't feel like I was some kind of nerd or outcast or lame guy because I was still around people who were faith based, who they go to school the next day and they're one of the most popular guys and girls. I was like, oh, okay, so I'm not alone in wanting to develop my social life while still maintaining my faith. It was I really witnessed um, I witnessed people who were able to be popular socially in this world of sin, but still maintain their faith.
Mhm.
And as a young kid back then, that was pretty much all I needed to know. Um, I guess as an example of what I can do to really balance things out. So I don't have to force myself to be popular by doing things that are outside of Christ's teachings, but I can still be, well, I can be respected just as a person and still maintain my faith. Because that was my goal coming into high school and joining the football team and, busting my butt to make sure that I starred and that I'm respected by my teammates and my peers and teachers and whatnot, and make sure I do well in school, I can be respected and still be in those ranks of social of I guess ranks of sociable people, and still just go to church every Sunday, still say my prayers, the team prayers, whenever we go out to our games and whatnot, and we eat. Like, it was slipping in, and it was gradually becoming more acceptable to express your faith, particularly through the Black community, honestly. One of the most spiritually endowed groups of people in the country. So there's definitely going to be that maturity of expressing your love and appreciation for God and his teachings and the Holy Trinity as you grow older in that community. So it became a lot easier over time to be faith-based, be older, be more mature, understand what it means to develop a relationship with Christ. And it just started from me seeing people who are already older, who are already expressing that and already practicing that and were already sociable and popular. And I said, okay, I can do this. Just take it one day at a time, let it be embedded into my being, let it soak in. By the time I'm 14 in high school, just do some extracurriculars, get around, talk to people, and it'll all just follow through.
Yeah, so that just made me think of a Bible verse. I forgot the book it came from, but it said like the Lord will send you a helper wherever you go. So I feel like you feel like the friends that you had, like those were kind of like your helpers in a sense, like keep
They
you
were.
like motivated.
Yeah, it was multiple friends. It was really through the community that I grew up around. Honestly, being Nigerian, American, born and raised in America, but my family's from Nigeria, and the community that surrounded me growing up, we were Catholic, and I go to church, and all my cousins and friends, close family members, they were just right there with me, day in and day out. I didn't realize how, I guess, entrenched I was in that community to help me maintain my faith in that aspect. So it just became a lot easier. And again, I just kind of grew into it.
That was actually my next question. Do you think that like being a Catholic kind of made you like kind of stand firm in your faith a little more? And I say that because like currently I'm not denominational right now. I'm still kind of like figuring things out. But like
Yeah.
I was Baptist most of my life, and then like I didn't realize that until I met somebody that like Catholics or like black, just being Catholic in general, being like a black Catholic, that's kind of like it's not common, like as you said. Like a lot of people don't understand it. They like look at you a certain way just because they don't understand it. So you think like just being a black Catholic kind of made you like, because the way I'm looking at it now is like the stuff that you were dealing with in middle school, that's kind of like what like Catholics have to deal with like on a daily basis. I feel like in a way, because like a lot of people like don't understand. So do you think like that kind of helped you as well, like just being a black Catholic?
Yeah, dude. Like, the amount I lost count of the amount of times people have asked me if I pray to Mary.
Yeah,
Like, it's like a thing. Like, I don't know how that became a thing. All
there's
because
a lot of
most Catholic
misinformation.
prayers, yeah, like there'll be pivotal Catholic prayers that would be recited that lean so heavily towards Mary to bless us, whereas Mary serves as the, I guess, the gateway or channel or the link to God. She strengthens our prayers and our asks and whatever it is that we would request from God in prayer and in faith and in spirit. So having, it's more so of a respect factor. We give the utmost highest reverence to Mary, and then there's God. We respect her so much, being that she's the mother of Christ, and that as a human, she was known to not be flawed in that sense. Hence why she was chosen to be the mother of Christ and the vessel that Christ was able to use to enter into this earth and fulfill his will. So yeah, there was definitely a lot of, it was very awkward, very I would say unusual for anyone to witness a black Catholic. Now, Black Baptists, Methodists,
Yeah,
um,
like that's more
you know,
like
Church
common.
of God in Christ, you know, they like, shout out to them. It's great.
I gotta stop you right there. But
Yeah,
like, that's actually another like problem I think because like just me growing up Baptist, and then like after I met or like the Catholics that I did meet, it felt like y'all had like a more of an understanding and like really just a more like stronger relationship in a way with like Christ because like when you go into a Catholic church, it's a lot different than a Baptist church, but it seemed like even the kids they they act different, like their manners are different, like they can
yeah.
recite things more because you guys have to go through like an actual like class in a way, but like for Baptists, we don't like they don't really I feel
It's
like
not as
know as
much.
much in a way, and I feel like that's what's hurting us because we don't right know our Bible like that. We don't like do certain prayers. We don't like have that relationship. So I feel like that's what's causing like problems at times.
Yeah, but not to knock other denominations. I feel like, well, no, I'm positive about this. The thing that distinguishes Catholics from other denominations is that when someone describes their experience in a Catholic church, notice the things that they say. They would say things like, "Oh man, you guys be singing. So y'all don't really be singing. Y'all just be ha huh, and not really like saying no words. Y'all be speaking Latin when you're in your songs and hymns. The they would say pastor, but it's, you know, priest would his sermons are really, they're homilies, and it's a lot more, I guess, tempered and controlled and monotone and mellow, and the vibes around just look so medieval, and yeah, like the incest that would smoke like occasionally during mass, and they would talk about that. They would mention Ash Wednesday. They would mention communion and how people would just get the line up and just get the bread every Sunday, because most of like other denominations would just do that on occasion throughout the year.
Yeah,
And also they all Catholics seem to stand up and sit down and stand up and sit down whenever something happens, and the reciting mantras and wordings that allude to the teachings of the gospel and whatnot. Those things that are described, in order for you to do it effectively, you have to develop a strong sense of discipline. You have to have a solid amount of patience groomed in you over time. Those factors, and also have to, I guess there's like, I guess, memory training or conditioning of their mind to really pick up on the prayers. And as you pick up on those prayers and as you do that routine, you end up having those characteristics translate into like your daily lives. So
yeah,
let's say, yeah, so let's say you're an athlete and you play a sport that needs you to be patient, needs you to be disciplined, needs you to, I guess, follow authority figures who would give you instruction, blunt instructions on how to do something in order to accomplish whatever. It's those type of things that distinguish Catholics from other people. And in terms of mannerisms and behaviors, and how young people who are Catholics and born and raised in a Catholic church seem to just be more polite uh, than than most. Like those type of characteristics that are groomed into anyone who's Catholic. I think that's what distinguishes the Catholic Church from anyone. Because despite the I guess the negatives, when you'd have your criticisms towards the Catholic Church, there's definitely an ability to ease.
I think you were saying like how like Catholics are a little more disciplined.
Yeah, well, the difference between Catholics and other denominations is that Catholics, based on how people describe their experience around the Catholic Church, they would say things like um, the tone of the music, the homilies from the priests, the mellowness and the vibes in the chapel or the church, the fact that we have church school that precedes mass, immediately precedes mass. Um, we stand up, sit down, stand up in attention, sit down as we listen to scripture. Everything is very tight knit and structured. And kids who grew up in a Catholic church they just so happen to also, I guess, end up being more polite and disciplined and more attentive to authority figures and cooperative in that sense. It translates to everyday life and one's ability to progress professionally and even socially. Like, people love a good listener. So I think those things distinguish Catholics from other religions. I mean, other religions really, and other denominations, just because of those kinds of social values that are just groomed literally from birth, because you're asked to be baptized from birth.
But no, that makes sense, and I kind of see like how like church in a way translated to like when you were talking about middle school, because like from like my experiences, like growing up in a Baptist church, like it wasn't like as much like structure in a way. Like something I say a lot is order one routine daily earns rewards, and that just made me realize that like when you grow up in an environment like that, like in a Catholic church, you gotta like follow certain things, you gotta like stick to a certain routine. Like the churches that I was coming up in, there wasn't like a set routine in a way. It wasn't like you had to do certain things. And I think because of that, because it wasn't like as much of a routine, when you go into like regular life, you're not gonna have like a certain structure in place either. So when you go to like say you go to lunch or you go somewhere, you're not gonna be like, okay, I walk in here, I gotta do this, I gotta like do these things. Because really you just go in and like you can do whatever. Like it sounds kind of bad, but like in a sense that's what it like kind of how it is. Because I don't even think, and I may be wrong, but wait, do you see? I might be. Whoa, wait, do you see it?
See what?
Oh, never mind. It's probably just my screen. I don't know why this just came. Full screen. I'll make this full screen. See? Just had. Oh. This. My bad, bro. I had to use this computer.
It's all good.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Glad I remember what I was just saying.
Yeah.
Damn, how do I make this bigger? Show grid video, hide thumbnail. This is.
1 second.
Man, I need God to help me out with this one. Show. Hey, man, what just happened? This. Oh, yeah, I'm a, what was I saying? But yeah, growing up in like a Baptist church, we didn't really like the structure wasn't there as much. So then, wait, can you? Because I can't see you right now. Does it look like I'm looking at you right now?
Yeah, you are.
So yeah, so like growing up in a Baptist church, I felt like because it wasn't like as much structure in a way. Like when we went into regular life, like that opened the door for us to, not open the door, but we didn't have a routine in place, so we had to in a way like be more disciplined on your own in a way because like the church wasn't really like that in a sense. But so yeah, I definitely understand that because I don't even think I ever seen, and I could be wrong, but I never really seen like children like even sleeping in church like that. You go to like a Baptist church, it's kind of normal to see like a kid sleeping in church. So yeah, I definitely understand that.
Now I gotta admit now, I think it'd be like Christmas night. Yeah, like Christmas Eve mass. Like it'll be midnight mass. I remember growing up, because just knock out mass and then wake up in the morning for Christmas Day. And that was times where I would end up as a kid falling
Oh,
asleep.
sleeping.
It'd be so late. It'd be so late. That's why I'd be
Oh yeah,
sleeping.
I understand.
And, yeah, that's about as far as I went.
Oh, now, yeah, I can see you now. It's just the screen is kind of small, but yeah, all right, so I'm back. But,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, so I definitely understand that, like as far as like the discipline and things like that.
Hmm.
But something else I want to say is I think a reason why some like people who aren't Catholic like think of that is because like it's kind of like a big, I don't want to say a big difference, but it's like an adjustment because um like the churches that I grew up in, it's kind of like this. It's like you go to a Catholic church is different than like going to say like an elevation reserve. Like you go to a Baptist church, like it's the same thing. Like when I came from a Baptist church and I went to elevation, I was like dang, this is a lot of like rock and roll music, but like you just got to be open minded. Is what I'm saying pretty much. I feel like a lot of times as believers we can be like closed minded in a way, so you
Yeah.
just gotta like open your mind up to things like that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know that Elevation does a great job
Mhm.
in organizing the spiritual experience of people who are at least interested in expressing their faith or strengthening their faith. Um, yeah, so I think that modern day churches are doing a great job when it comes to bringing people into some type of, I guess, realm of comfort when it comes to just channeling the inner workings of their ability to express themselves spiritually.
Mhm. Sure. Man, this video kind of got me off guard a little bit. 'Cause I was used to having it a certain way. I'm not sure why it's
It's all
like
good, man.
this.
I see you.
Yeah, I can see you now too. It's just like in this small box. It's kind of like awkward. I had it big before, but so my next question is, I'm gonna kind of jump around a little bit because man, I only asked like 3 questions so far. I thought about so many other. Um, all right, so this next question was a question that I've been asking people a lot. Like has God ever told you like something about somebody? Like has He ever showed you like a sign or gave you like the discernment over somebody, like how they were feeling in a way?
Uh, I can't really, I can't really give a straightforward answer on that. I guess I would definitely ask for from God for some type of insight, or sorry, not insight, but foresight, and the ability to read the room and tell whether I'm at a place where God truly wants me to be and truly wants me to use the gifts that He's blessed me with in that moment. And sometimes, yeah, other times, no. I mean, I meet people and I treat them with the same amount of respect and dignity and I guess generosity as I would like anyone else to be for me. So I can't really read. I can't read minds,
Mhm.
I can kind of just read their body language, and that's as far as it goes.
But I understand that. The reason that I asked that pretty much was because like the Lord, I feel like the Holy Spirit told me to ask like a couple of people that, and He told me to ask people that because like for me personally, I feel like a lot of believers can relate to this. Like sometimes we forget that like our relationship with God isn't the same as like somebody else's. And what I mean by that is like the Holy Spirit gives us all like different spiritual gifts. So then like your spiritual gift could be one thing, and then you may ask me that and be like, or like, what's your opinion on this? But then me, I could be like, oh, well, nah, I never like understood, like, I never like felt that before. And then like it kind of puts you in a position where you feel like how was I feeling? Like if like the person that like, oh, because like they didn't understand this and like they like don't I don't want to say like love you in a way, but don't like connect with you in a way. But it's not that. It's just that it's like a different like spiritual gift. Like if that makes
Yeah.
sense. I don't know if I explained that right.
No, I got the picture. Yeah, I see what you mean. I mean, there's plenty of ways to look into what it means to keep the right circle of influences, of friends. And God just, He points you in a direction and you just have to trust His word and just go. See
Yeah.
how, see how far it takes you. And as soon as He gives the next direction, you'll be able to tell when that door is closed and the next one is open. So yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, and I think that kind of relates to like the different churches as well. Like God speaks to everybody in different ways. That kind of goes along with the music. So like we can't go like other believers can't go into a Catholic church and be like, oh no, I don't like the music. It sounds like this, or I don't like the preaching because like there's different ways of like God communicating to people and speaking to people than just like the way that you're used to it, pretty much.
Right.
But, but yeah, I didn't want to have it too long because I have a lot more questions. But this we might have to make like a part two to this
Yeah,
episode.
sure thing, man. It's all good. We can make a part two.
I'm gonna ask like three more questions. There was another question. Do you think that God sends like everyone in your life for a reason?
Hmm. Yeah, He does, but I don't want to just dive headfirst and say that. I think that sometimes there are people who get in their own way
Yeah,
and they ignore the message that God kind of shows them until it's like too late in that interaction with the wrong person.
yeah,
So, for example, I mean, somebody may want to go to, oh, let's say somebody's in high school and they're trying to figure out what college they want to go to. And, maybe they've always had their sights set on one school, but God seems to give them the idea or the thought of checking out this other school that wasn't in their radar, that doesn't seem to have all the things that that kid initially wanted, but it just may be the right choice for them. And that kid still just ignores it and just goes with the school that they've always, because they get accepted to both and they just choose the one that they've always wanted to go to. They may have a terrible experience with the school that they initially wanted to go to and then fall back on that and then end up going to the school that God may have showed them to look at in the first place. Some people just get in their own way and ignore the messages that God sends them inadvertently or just so bluntly and obviously. Um, and it goes from not just in the school example, but in all kinds of cases. So, yeah, I do believe that God shows you or introduces you to the right people. Um, but man, and does it for a reason, of course, but man, He also allows negative temptation to come your way to test your faith and to test your ability to carry out your purpose. And but the good news is, even if we get off those train tracks, or that road, we can always get back in line if we recommit ourselves to our faith, ask God for forgiveness, and show as much gratitude as possible to
Yeah, sometimes God like actually just like pulls us back on track sometimes too.
yeah, man. And it takes a lot of, we just have to be so contrite when asking for forgiveness, and really reopening our hearts to accept his mercy, and to go back into what our purpose originally was, and be at the right place at the right time to just finish up our mission. So, yeah, God definitely allows us to have second chances and third chances and fourth and fifth chances, even though you shouldn't just, put yourself in that position. He's an omnipotent, all-knowing, ever-loving God who deserves all the credit possible for any of our accomplishments. So,
Well, nah, it's crazy that you say that because like when you mentioned that he gives us multiple chances. Like
yeah,
I feel like in the past that's something that I struggle with a lot. When I feel like the Holy Spirit was telling me to do certain things, and I just felt like the Holy Spirit was telling me that like yeah, God will always bring you back, but it's like it's yourself you gotta worry about. So like God will give us another chance, but like the next chance that he gives me, I gotta basically like discipline myself to like stay where he's taking me and not to like keep going off track because when you keep doing that, like sometimes, like you said, when you mention your purpose, you can miss your purpose like that. Like you keep going off track that the Lord's trying to send you on. Like you may not be where you're supposed to be, where he wants you to be there. Or you may not even be like disciplined enough to handle the blessings. So yeah, I
exactly.
definitely understand that.
Yeah, man. Exactly.
Um, my next question is like, when was the time you feel like you had to like put your pride aside to follow where Jesus was taking you?
Probably when I stopped playing football after high school. Um, Man, I had so much pride in terms of my abilities as an athlete. And I guess from the whole recruitment process, because I played football, and I I knew I had promise when it came to getting a scholarship for one, or just playing for any particular program. Because I knew that if hard work beats talent when talent doesn't want to work hard. I was talented, but I also had a strong work ethic. Um, so I was confident in my abilities, so much so that when it came to me wanting to play at the next level, I was just dead set on that. And I really wasn't even bothering to learn about other career opportunities outside of football. I mean, it was my senior year that I actually had an epiphany about what it meant to be an athlete, as opposed to other positions or other occupations in different leagues or organizations. So learning about the internal staff that would be in a professional football team, I was just like realizing technically I would still be in the NFL, just won't be a player. I could be a GM. I can be perhaps in an agency that represents professional athletes as clients, or really the legal side rather of the business, and even have aspirations of owning a team. I mean, there's different avenues to get into that. And I was so stubborn as to not getting ahead of the curve, and learning what it takes to do that, that by the time I got injured my senior year, wrist injury, took me out for like 3 months. Screwed up my chances when it came to fulfilling my duties as a in
Hey,
recruiting.
what you do to your wrist if you don't mind me asking?
No, you're good. Busted it from I fell on it like too hard. I was a lot heavier at the time, and the
Right?
momentum, me falling, busting my wrist.
Like
Dis-
you broke it.
yeah, completely dislocated it, torn all the ligaments around it. The doctor said that it was literally the worst kind of injury a wrist can have because all it is joints and ligaments. So for it to dislocate, ligaments torn, I had to do complete reconstruction. Now nothing was they just like sewed the ligaments back together, re set my bones, and I was able to just go through therapy and get it back in shape. But by that time, I ended up being too late when it came to getting back in shape physically and mentally as an athlete. It actually took me out of contention for retaining my scholarship offer from the school that I was recruited for. So, football, for one, football was not my only option to get to college. I was still great in school. So, I just didn't have the mindset to actively and intensely pursue other career opportunities or ones that were suitable to me. Because the whole concept of knowing what your gift is, knowing what your God given talent is, that went over my head completely. I was thinking I'm doing pretty well in football. Maybe this is football. But no, it's a lot more than just that. It's you can really pick apart your life and things that are considerably easy for you to complete and people like what you do. Those are examples of gifts or talents that are embedded in you from birth that you can really look into and implement your faith into and then take action as a career. So by the time I was doing football, I didn't understand what that meant. I never really was around that message, honestly. So I kind of had to learn the hard way and then push myself back in shape and back in line to God's purpose and slowly but surely realize more and more what my purpose is and what my capabilities are professionally, socially, spiritually, physically, and just make it all tie in together.
Well, nah, it's crazy that you say all that because, like, as you were speaking, I was seeing like certain things that I was going through as well. Like during that time when I was in high school, and I actually like just broke my wrist too. I didn't break it. I broke it, but like none of my ligaments was bad. But they had like put like a screw in here and things. But what was it? Your right wrist? That
It's my
you?
practice, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy that it was like your right wrist too. But I can definitely relate to what you were saying about like your purpose and like in a sense like kind of just thinking like just like football in a way because like when I was in high school I played like basketball all my life and like there was this you heard of Ball is Life before?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so like that was pretty much me. I was thinking like yeah basketball is life, but then like one day when I was about 16 I was like nah, basketball isn't like I think like God is like, and like that's kind of how I started like God is like. That just made me realize that like what you were saying, like there's more to life than just sports, and like God placed more things inside of us than just like being athletes, pretty much, and like it was actually through like just having a lot of injuries. Like I tore my Achilles, like even with this injury, like things that I was going through in my life, I realized that like then had things worked out the way I wanted it to, and it just been like just basketball, like the way I wanted it to be, I would have like missed out on like a lot of things. I would have missed out on like all the gifts that God's given me. So
Yeah,
I
man.
definitely understand you on that.
Yeah. And it hurt. I mean, it really hurt. Um, I guess going through that experience of kind of starting from scratch
Yeah.
mentally when it comes to what your career aspirations are. Because granted, I was still able to I went through rehab, but I was still able to physically get back in shape and then get back on the field. Probably walk on for a team or pursue like something, anything. I could have like done all that and still just fought into a roster and just continued as an athlete. But deep down, I knew that that was not my calling. I just knew it. I knew that I could physically handle it, but it just would not suit me well. The lifestyle of an athlete was something that I could physically accomplish, but spiritually and mentally, it wasn't a lock. So that led me to giving myself no choice but to actively pursue different options.
So you felt like what did that or like what was that feeling that made you feel like because you felt like you were being like pulled somewhere else in a way, right? Because
Yeah,
that kind of transitions to my next question. Like, how do you know when like the Holy Spirit is like leading you in a certain direction? You know,
I knew the Holy Spirit was leading me to a certain direction when every, well, I won't say everything, but uh, probably early in my college years, probably like freshman, sophomore year, around then, a lot of stuff that was honed and developed since high school kind of just fell apart bit by bit. I mean, granted, I was looking for new opportunities or new lifestyle, new career goals, new career aspirations overall, but but for some reason, it would just slip up. I mean, I would really go on internships and be bored out of my mind because I'm like, oh, if I gotta do this for a living, I don't even think like it got so bad. I don't even think the money. It taught me that the money was even worth it. I'd rather have the lives put more emphasis on the lifestyle and still, of course, earn a living and be able to potentially scale with it than just go for any other career just because it pays more for market standards. I mean, yeah, it's crazy. So by then, I was just so bored out of my mind with the previous mate because I used to be, um, no offense to any of my friends in STEM, but I was a STEM major, specifically engineering, when I got into A&T, and I was doing the work, made dean's lists and all that. I just went to class and just did my work, but I did not feel accomplished. I wasn't really that proud of what I did, and I didn't feel like I really made a difference with the environment that I was around. I didn't seem to be that strong of a contributor just because my heart wasn't in it, and that led to me not being spiritually in tune with what I do. So that kind of that was a trap that led me to kind of be off when it came to my faith. Um, and slowly but surely, I kind of faded away from all of the teachings that I had since I was a kid, and it was very noticeable considering my past lifestyle that I was pulling myself away from my faith because I wasn't even in tune with the purpose God had for me, using the gifts that He gave me from birth. I wasn't using any of that. I was using something else from my own preconceived thoughts and notions and beliefs. So, steering yourself away from your purpose also leads you to lose your faith and lose whatever sense of discipline you had initially when it came to your relationship with God. And I felt it, not just spiritually or internally, but physically as well. I just felt off. So the drastic change came when I was slowly slipping, um, when it came to school, when it came to any work or as job prospects, anything like that. And I said that I'm a model, actor, producer. I was not expecting to even get into that industry at all. Like mass media, I was like, leave that to the guys that are in mass communications majors. That was not for me. I'm thinking like, oh, nah, that's not my type of thing. But yeah, it just became that, honestly. And that's another story for later, of course.
Nah, that's how God works. Like He leads us to things that we wouldn't like see ourselves doing. Cause like even with me, I didn't see myself like really even starting a clothing brand, like starting a podcast, writing prayers every day. I
Yeah,
always did right, but I didn't see myself doing a lot of things that I'm doing now. But I would have never that would have never happened had I not like had certain injuries or like things not go my way. But I feel like that was God just like redirecting me pretty
right.
much. 'Cause, like we don't know like God's like full vision for our lives until we begin to like live in it pretty much. So like the visions that I was seeing when I was in high school or even like a year ago, like I couldn't see it because I guess like it just wasn't the time yet. Like
Yeah,
so,
yeah, man.
I definitely understand that. Um, I'm not sure why it said we got 10 minutes left. I thought it was another 40. But I could just ask one more question. I know it's yeah, I said it end at 9:15. I'm gonna just ask one more question. I don't want to keep you over time. But, nah, it's been a real good conversation though. I think I only touched on like three of my questions like
Yeah,
that I previously had written down.
yeah, sure thing, man. It's been fun.
Yeah, for sure. Man, what's the last question I should? Yeah, I guess I can do this one. Yeah, do you think that the media influences our faith pretty
It
much?
sure does.
Like, do you think that? I guess the reason I say that is because I feel like our generation it's a little harder for us to like remain disciplined in a way than it was for our parents, just because you got like social media, you got like you can see everything on the news. So I just feel like now as believers in a way we gotta like really remain disciplined. But what I'm basically saying is, do you think that like media? What am I trying to say? Like, do you think it'd be better if we didn't have access to all this media, or do you think that it's good that we have access to like all these platforms?
I think it's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
I think that, I guess, to be a decent, respectable person who comes in with good intentions, comes in good faith, would use the influence of mass media to promote something positive in their when it comes to their respective community and what they want to present as a message. Whereas the more perverse version of mass media comes from people who,
Be on demon time.
yeah, but
Yeah.
but to be more formal about it, I guess they want to I guess, abuse the influence, the amount of power and influence that mass media has, being presentable in front of a camera has, because it is a very powerful tool to be seen and noticed and heard by the masses. Nowadays, it's millions of people who can witness your content on on a digital platform that will be in the internet forever. And that is your brand, that's your identity, at least at the time. That is who you represent, that is how you are perceived to be until you decide to make a significant change in your life, which is why, as a creative artist or as a media personality in some sense, we are always taught, I guess, through training, that you have to know your brand. You have to understand who you are as a person. You have to before you do any work for clients, before you hop into any job for I guess any acting job, before you take on any responsibilities, post training, post speech training, post acting training, post modeling training. You have to know who you are as a person. You
Yeah,
can't.
so we don't like lose sight of our purpose.
Yeah, exactly. And it starts with it starts with your faith, then leads with your gifts, and then your purpose with those gifts. for God.